If you want to really get to know me, here are the 5 movies that made me who I am today. So I've seen this trend going around TikTok, Instagram, and I did it myself, like the 10 movies that explain everything about me, or 10 movies to get to know me. And I wanted to do something a little bit longer form. And I'm not going to get into 10 because this could take forever, but I'm going to give you my 5. Like, these are the movies that turned me into the person I am today, that developed my tastes, my sense of humor, my references, why I collect physical media, why I love certain genres. These are the movies that will really help you get to know me, probably on a level deeper than you might expect. And we're going to start with a banger. It's 1997. I am 5 years old, and the movie Good Burger gets released.
Yeah! Morning, girls! Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Now, at the age of 5, I was deep into the world of Nickelodeon. I loved all that. I loved all the animated shows, Our Real Monsters, Rocko's Modern Life, like all that stuff was who I was. And of course, I loved Kenan and Kel, and I loved the Good Burger skits on all that. So when I found out they were making a movie, this was huge. Now, if you're around my age, this might have been just as big a movie for you. If you're a little bit older, a little bit younger, maybe you completely missed it. But let me tell you, because Good Burger is still one of the most consistently funny movies that I've ever seen, one of the most quotable movies that I've ever seen. I mean, it is like nonstop laughs from start to finish. And I know it's not Citizen Kane, it's not one of the greatest movies ever made, but this movie truly defined a bit of my personality. Like, I will still read something that I don't understand and go, I know some of these words. Or saying she's a dude, he's a dude, because we're all dudes. Yeah, like everything about that movie is burnt into my memory.
Give me a good shake.
Really?
Mondo Burger's going to be the biggest burger chain on this planet.
As well as a bunch of other stuff from Nickelodeon in that time period. Like, as I got a little bit older, like, I have so many SpongeBob references in my head that I almost have no room for anything else. But Good Burger's really the one that truly kicked it off. Like, I was into Nickelodeon movies. It was Good Burger, and then there was stuff like Jimmy Neutron came out. There was the Rugrats movie. Like, Nickelodeon had a run there in the 90s and early 2000s that was just unstoppable. It's probably the reason why I love stuff like SNL today, and I still watch it and still enjoy sketch comedy a ton because I grew up on all that. I grew up with Kenan and Kel and the whole cast, and Kenan's literally still doing sketch comedy on Saturday Night Live right now in 2025.
Yes, I can't believe my daughter lives in this beautiful house.
It really is so cozy.
One day, you need them now.
Dad, stop.
Oh, I will not stop. I will never stop on that.
So it truly defined my sense of humor, for sure. It's the reason why I still love stuff like Tim Robinson and I Think You Should Leave, and that really awkward kind of cringe humor. I love that stuff because of Good Burger. There's, I don't love movies like Hot Rod if I don't see Good Burger first. It really was this just definitive movie, which might sound absurd for somebody who loves movies, but man, that blew my mind as a kid, and I love it so much. Now, the next movie is one, if you've been following for a while, you probably thought I was going to put first, but we do have to talk about it, and it is Jaws. And I'm going to give you a little bit of the backstory. Now, I personally think Jaws is the greatest movie ever made, hands down. No question about it. The characters are perfectly constructed. It's perfectly written. The fact that the shark didn't work and it created this suspense is just somehow movie magic. It became a perfect film. The score, what it did for Steven Spielberg and his career, the summer blockbuster. It's the most influential movie of all time, and I think the greatest movie of all time. And for me, I grew up as a kid going to Cape Cod on the summers. My grandparents, when they retired, they got a house on Cape Cod, right in Eastham, Massachusetts, which is very close to Chatham, Massachusetts. And if you know the area, that is now where all the great white sharks live. And they are out there every day on the beaches that I used to swim at. But when I was a kid and I first saw Jaws, there weren't great whites there. There weren't any sharks in the Cape. We'd never heard of it, but I knew that's where this movie was set. It was filmed on Martha's Vineyard right off of Cape Cod. I've been there many times to the filming locations. I love that area of this planet. It quite possibly could be my favorite place on earth is Martha's Vineyard. And I watched it probably too young, probably around 5 or 6, again, on a VHS tape. I watched it on the Cape. I went to the beach right afterward. Like, it didn't really scare me, but it definitely triggered, you know, my love for like the horror thriller. It definitely opened my eyes to just like what movies could do.
Did you hear your father? Out of the water now!
This shark, swallow you whole. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Like, obviously I had watched a bunch of stuff before then as a kid, but that's the first one that's like burnt into my memory as a movie that I saw and really was blown away by. But it also just kind of shaped everything. Like, I probably don't start a physical media collection except for the fact that I have that really strong connection to the VHS tapes I grew up on, Jaws being one of them. I don't have a huge Jaws collection in my room. I mean, I have the Lego set, the Laserdisc. I have a skateboard with Quint on it. I have a replica of Bruce the Shark behind me. I have every 4K, Blu-ray, DVD, VHS release of this film that's ever been made. Like, it is one of those movies that truly made me who I am. You can't have me, Jeff Rauseo, without Jaws. It's just, you know, the regional location. I lived here. I grew up in that area. I love the movie. I love seeing the spots that they filmed it in, which a lot of are, you know, still around if you go to Martha's Vineyard. It's incredible. It's kind of a snapshot of that time period still.
Shoot!
And it's just a movie that transformed everything for me. I think probably kicked off my love for movies more than anything else. Now, another film I need to talk about is Zodiac, which came out in 2007.
This is the murderer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl on the 4th of July.
I want you to print this cipher on the front page of your paper.
He wants his code in the afternoon edition.
Ray Smith, don't you have a cartoon to finish?
I would have been 14, almost 15 at that time. I was just starting to get into like the rated R stuff. Like, I was making that kind of transition from PG-13 to R-rated movies. And Zodiac came out and I was immediately interested. I thought it was a really interesting story. It was not something I knew a lot about at the time. And I had no idea like who David Fincher was, who's now become one of my favorite directors. But watching that movie did a couple of things for me. First of all, it did make me a big true crime junkie. Like, I literally, I was very seriously considering going and joining the FBI or doing some sort of criminology thing while I was in college. I got a political science degree, but I was like, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to do something more with this. I was very, very close to making that leap because of a movie like Zodiac. And it's a reason why today I'm obsessed with true crime documentaries. I will read books like Devil in the White City about true crime. I listen to podcasts like Last Podcast on the Left. And I'm obsessed with kind of the psychology of these killers and why they do what they do and how to catch them. Like a show like Mindhunter on Netflix, also by David Fincher. Strangely enough, it's very closely aligned to Zodiac and what I love. But that movie also showed me that you can build horror thrillers into dramas and that not everything is so neatly defined in a genre.
I want to report a murder. No, a double murder.
Because Zodiac has scenes like Jake Gyllenhaal going into that basement, which are some of the scariest moments of any movie out there. But it's also this journalism drama with these thriller mystery elements. With these horror bits. So like it explains, and in David Fincher, that's kind of his genre. And I dove into all of his stuff after this with The Game. I loved Gone Girl, Seven, Fight Club, obviously. Like, I dove deep into Fincher. He is probably my top 3 directors. But it kind of opened my eyes at an age where I was just starting to get into the more serious movies of like what a movie could do and how it can bend genres and how you can tell this just incredible story, really framing it through the, the eyes of journalists. Like this isn't some horror movie about the Zodiac killer killing people. It's not a slasher. It's not a straightforward mystery. It's really like a journalistic movie that explains the story in a very unique and straightforward way, and also puts in these horrific clips. I mean, the Zodiac killer coming upon that couple out at the lake for the first time is a horrific scene. That is a horror movie moment. So it's just one of those movies that truly, like, at a very important part of my life, changed my thinking and really got me into film a lot deeper. Now, I've also got to talk about a classic horror movie because I am a horror movie guy first and foremost. I love the horror genre. In Halloween, 1978.
Halloween night. A small American town. 15 years ago.
Is right up there neck and neck with Jaws in terms of how influential it was on my life. Now, I remember watching Halloween for the first time as TV edits. I would watch it during AMC's Fear Fest, which played every October on cable. I would come home from school, ditch my homework. I would sit on the couch and watch Fear Fest. And a lot of Fear Fest was the Halloween movies. I watched a lot of Halloween 4 and 5 because those tended to play a lot. But that original movie that came, maybe once a day they showed it or once a week. And then you would obviously catch it on Halloween itself. When I was older, I would sit there on the couch, not trick-or-treating necessarily, but sit there and watch that while I was handing out candy. It became a tradition, but it also opened the door to me to horror. Like that was my gateway to horror, was Michael Myers, was Halloween, even the TV edits. Everything about that franchise is what created the horror junkie I am today. And much like Jaws, I have like every release of Halloween that's ever come out. I have a Michael Myers bust over there. I have a Michael Myers mask. I have a signed copy of Halloween by John Carpenter. I have, action figures, artwork, bobbleheads. I mean, anything Halloween I'm just obsessed with. I love the character of Michael Myers. I was geeking out in 2017 when it was announced they were making a new trilogy, and I will defend that trilogy. I love it because I just love the franchise. But I saw that before I saw Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or any of that stuff. I don't watch any of those movies probably if it isn't for Halloween. Halloween was the gateway. It's what made me realize what horror movies could do and how simple they could be and how scary simple could be. Also turned me into a huge John Carpenter fan. I've got the Thing poster on my wall signed by him. I love the Thing. In the Mouth of Madness, They Live. I mean, everything John Carpenter touches is gold. His music, the iconic score, the fact that he did the score and directed the movie, like everything about that kind of blew my mind as a kid. And the more I learned about it and the story behind it, even just simple things like how'd they find the Michael Myers mask? Like the mythology of those movies just had me obsessed with horror. And AMC's Fear Fest is 100% a huge part of that. And I think if you're around my age, you're very familiar with Fear Fest. It's probably how a lot of us saw our first horror movies. And yeah, they were TV edits, but it was just awesome to have this continuous loop of horror playing on cable at a time where, you didn't have streaming, you didn't have Shudder, you didn't have places that could do that. So Halloween is just massive for me. I owe a lot of my interests in film, horror, and even, again, in physical media and collecting to Halloween. And to round things out, I'm going to go with another 1990s favorite of mine, which is The Sandlot.
This summer.
Meet Scotty Smalls.
Kale, get it!
The kid is a L7 weenie.
My life's over.
Now, I have seen The Sandlot probably 100 times. No joke. My parents used to have a conversion van, big, huge van. And my grandparents had a lake house up in New Hampshire when we were living in Massachusetts. It's about 90 minutes away. And this conversion van had a TV, like an 8-inch TV up on the top with a VCR. And we played movies because it was a 90-minute drive. Every time up and back, we'd watch a movie. And The Sandlot was one of those movies we watched quite a bit. We would even sit, like, if my brothers had a baseball practice and, I was just sitting there trying to hang out and kill some time. I'd be in the van just like watching a movie. So shout out to the conversion van, first of all, for making me a movie fan. Those VCRs in those vans were huge. But the Sandlot, I was also a big baseball fan. I played baseball my whole life. I played all through varsity in high school. I did not play in college. I wasn't probably good enough, maybe at like a D3 school, but I didn't really want to play at that point. I just loved the sport. When I got out of college, I coached baseball for a couple of years at my old high school, a freshman team, a JV team. Coaching the kids was awesome. It felt like the Sandlot. You went to practice every day, and I'm out there with 14 kids just literally playing Sandlot ball and doing drills and having fun. And I just love the sport of baseball. I love Fenway Park. I love everything about it. And a lot of that comes from the way that the Sandlot kind of romanticized the sport for me as a kid. Like, there's something really special about that movie. And it connected me to a time period. Like, obviously, I grew up in the 90s. That movie's big in the 90s, but it's set in the 50s. So it connected to me to this time period of, this like golden era of the play outside, generation. Like, just go and play and ride on your bikes. And, I was probably one of the last generations that got to experience that. Really, I did, when summer came around, I would get on my bike, ride to the elementary school down the street, and we would play baseball. We would just play out there. Could be 4 of us, could be 10 of us, whoever was there, but we would just play. Someone would pitch, someone would hit. We just messed around on the baseball field the whole time. And, I grew a love for the sport, and it does come from the Sandlot. And I still reference that movie all the time, right? There, I mean, You're Killing Me, Smalls. I know a lot of people reference it, but it's iconic. There's so many things in there. The Great Bambino, the Sultan of SWAT. Like, so much about that is burned into my brain the way like A Good Burger is. It was that type of childhood movie that just kind of created a personality in me, definitely pushed some interests like baseball. And it romanticized kind of like summers. Like, I miss summers. The reason why I was going to be a teacher. And the reason why I was going to be a teacher was obviously not for the money. I don't think it was for the love of teaching. I liked the subject of history. I was going to be a history teacher. But more importantly, it was to have my summers off. And boy, do I miss that. Like, the Sandlot romanticized the American summer in a way that I haven't been able to experience since college. Like, I haven't had a summer off, and I missed that. But I'm so happy I took advantage of it as a kid. And I didn't just sit inside. And trust me, I sat inside and played a lot of video games. But that was usually after spending 4, 5, 6, 7 hours outside playing sports, playing baseball, riding around the neighborhood on your bike, just doing kid stuff. And I credit the Sandlot for a lot of that in a weird way. Like, it created a lot of different things in my life, made me focus on, I feel like, the right stuff, especially during the summers. I didn't waste those times, the precious times. I mean, you literally have like 12 years of your life where you get the summer off, and you have even less years where you can do something with it. Like those peak years from like 9 to 13 where you can ride your bike around and do things on your own. It's a really quick snapshot of your life, but I do love the Sandlot for that. So those are the movies that made me. That gives you a little bit of background on my life, who I am, why these movies are so important to me. Probably opens up, I probably told some stories here. Some of this is in my book. If you grab my book, Lost in the Stream, some of this is in the beginning of the book. There are other personal stories in there that you'll get if you buy the book, but it's, I wanted to do this because I think it's important. People really can get to know you in your life through the movies you watch. That's what's so great about movies and film. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. If you stuck it out to the end, you're a real one. Make sure you're subscribed if you want more videos from me. Follow me on social media. Definitely grab my book if you want a copy of Lost in the Stream. Dives into streaming algorithms, what Hollywood has done, but also all the nostalgia, the stuff we've missed, the stuff that I talked a lot about here. But above all else, just thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and stay healthy out there, and I will talk to you soon.